This is Unit 4, and in today's lesson and unit we will be talking about a musical scale, learning what they are composed of, what they are, and what they are built from. And we will also be learning addition to scales. We will be learning about solfege, which is a syllabic system of syllables to help in recognition of pitches outside of having to use a piece of sheet music or having to see the notes on the page, as it were. So let's get into it. And if you go ahead and open up your notes, I'll pull those up on screen right here, and we'll get started. All right, so vocabulary. A scale, a musical scale, is the tonal basis of music, a specific pattern of tones from which you can build melodies and harmonies. A scale consists of 7 notes. If you don't count the first note being repeated on top of that, as we know, learned in an earlier lesson, there are 7 pitches, 7 tones in a scale. Basic tones, we'll learn about different variations of the notes in a future lesson, but for now we're going to learn the 7 basic tones. Notes. The notes are ordered according to their pitch, generally from lowest to highest. You usually start on the lowest note of the scale and build your way up to the highest note of the scale. You can also come back down, an ascending scale and a descending scale. Named for the first note of the sequence, it is the tonic. It is named after the tonic. So if you remember in a previous lesson, we talked about the pitch A. We learned it vibrates at frequency of 440 hertz, and we give it the name A, which sounds like this. And in music, we have a musical alphabet consists of the note names A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Those are the only letters that we use as note names, and I'll get more into that in just a moment. But each scale or key is named for the tonic note. So if we were to build a scale and try to sing or play a scale built on A 440, we would go like this. We would start on the letter A. Sounds like this. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it would play an A on top. So it starts on the tonic, a scale starts on the tonic note and ends on the tonic note. So I'm going to play that one more time. Scale sounds like this. On the letter A, note A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then finally on A again. So we have the key of A. This scale is in the key of A because it starts on the note A, on that pitch. And we also call a scale a key. It's also called a key. It's just another way of calling it, the key of C. So if you hear other musicians or talk with other vocalists to musicians that talk about, I need this to be in a certain key, they're asking for a piece of music to be written within a scale, within a certain range of specific notes and pitches. That is what a key or a scale is. Now, each scale consists of each note, each pitch, consists of scale degrees. All they are, the individual pitch, those are the individual notes, the individual pitches. It is a name for each note of the scale, and there are 7 scale degrees or notes in a scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it starts back on scale degree number 1, which is A. The 7 scale degrees or notes in a scale, the first scale degree, the tonic, is repeated on top, just like that. So it starts on A, ends on A. For example of the key or scale of A. So from here on out, if you hear me talk about a key, I'm going to be talking about a scale. So we're in the key of A for right this moment, okay? Using numbers, you can also make a scale, and the scale would look like this. This little diagram here, which starts from the lowest tonic all the way up to the highest tonic note. So tonic note would be scale degree number 1, first note, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then tonic on top again, scale degree number 1. So we're going from lowest all the way to the highest. Now you can use numbers, but you can also use the pitch names. This is just a way of labeling. This is a system of labels for right this moment. Pitch names, again, there are 7 main pitches in any scale, not counting the tonic on the top again. It is, excuse me, 7 main pitches. This is our musical alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. All these are All these note names are labels for pitches. That's all they are. For thousands of years ago, these are the system of notes that we decided we're going to say, okay, this is pitch A, B, C, D. It's just a way of clarifying as opposed to saying this is frequency 440 hertz, the next note, and all those various pitch frequencies in between A and A. This is just a simple way of saying, okay, this is pitch A, this is pitch B, C, D, E, F, and G. Okay, these are the 7 basic ones. These are the foundational ones. If you think of music, you think of reading music, you think of pitches as if it were ice cream. Okay, we have several flavors, several variations of ice cream, but it's still ice cream. So even though you have vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice cream, or Rocky Road, or pistachio, okay, it's still ice cream, but these are just different variations. The same thing goes with pitches. When we read and when we recognize, when we label pitches, these are the 7 basic pitch names, A through G. Now this pattern will repeat forever. This pattern repeats no matter which letter you start on. If we start on A, we go up to B, C, D, E, F, G, starts on A again, and keeps going up even higher. Excuse me. And then there's A again, and it can keep going on and keep going on. And you can start on any of these letters and keep the pattern going. So let's say, for example, I want to start on note C, and I want to play something or sing something in the key of C, which all that means is the tonic note is going to start on the note or the pitch called C. So here's C, and it just goes up the scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I can start on the pitch of E and go from there as well. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, and just go on up the scale as well. That's the key of E, because the scale starts on the note E. It keeps the same pattern all the way through, no matter which note you start on. It repeats forever and ever and ever. This is our alphabet of notes. Now, as we've said before, the tonic note, if you hear me talk about a tonic note, that's going to be the note that I want you to start, the pitch that I want you to start on. The tonic is simply the first and the last note of the scale, and it repeats. Let's go back up to see this numbers on a scale. So you have 1 here, that's our tonic, and it starts with 1 again on the top as well. That's our tonic note from beginning, first note, and the last note of the scale. Okay? It is the foundational note. It is the one our home tone. It's the note we want to get back to. If our tonic note is our home, think of the other notes as if you're running an errand. You're starting at home, you're running out to the grocery store, you're going to other places, and then you're coming right back to home. Same, that's what a tonic note is. So for now, there's some other applications or other extensions of reading a staff, but for right now, we're going to start with indicating that our tonic is a solid black box. It'll be at the beginning of the staff. So if you're a little bit ahead in music and you understand the concept of the treble and the bass clef, don't worry about that right now. We'll get to that later. I want to start you out learning this is our home pitch. This is our tonic note. That's what I want to start to get you to learn for right now. We'll add the treble and bass clef later, and if you've never heard of a treble and bass clef, just be patient. We'll get to it in the next couple of weeks. Okay? So, our tonic note, the pitch that I want you to start on, will be indicated by a black box, either on a line or in a space. Either one. If you see that black box, either in a line or a space, the pitch that is in that line, the pitch that I give you, will be the pitch or the note that we come back to each time. Okay? So, now, what does this have to do with solfege? Well, you can either remember that since we don't know what pitch, what note exactly we're starting on here, each one of these lines and spaces will indicate what note that you need to sing. So if I were to put a note, say exactly where this crosshair is right here, if I were to put a note here, I don't know which note it is because I don't have any other indicators telling me what that note is supposed to be. We'll get into that later. For now, The solfege system allows us to start on our tonic, which is going to be the syllable do. Do is going to be our tonic each and every time. No matter where I put, no matter where that box is on this staff, either on the first space, the fourth space, the fifth line, the third line, no matter where it is, that will be the indication of where our tonic note, our foundation beginning note will be. So, solfege is a system of 12 syllables, total 12. It covers all the pitches. For right now, we're only going to cover 7, just 7 syllables, the 7 main notes, where every pitch or note of the scale is given its own unique syllable, which is used to recognize and sing that note or pitch every time it appears on the staff. So it starts again from low pitch to high pitch. We call this low do or high do, and we can start it on any pitch we want to, and we'll always come back to do at some point or another. Okay, so if we were to start, let's say do is this pitch. This is do. This is our tonic note, and we want to go up this scale, starting on this do and going to the top do up here, the high do, all the way to the top. This is what it would sound like in this with this pitches. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then we can also come back down as well. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. All the way down to the low do. We went from low to high do. And all these syllables, again, all these are our ways of recognizing pitch. They give a syllable to a specific pitch, the way it sounds. And each of these pitches relate to each other. They have a tonal relation to each other. So let's say, for example, if I want to be on this note, this on T, and we're starting on this pitch is our do. This would be T. T, especially if you go up the scale, is what we call a leading tone, because it wants to lead us back to do. Our ear, especially if we are accustomed to and grew up in what we call Western music, this is part of Western music notation, Western music pitch. The T is a leading tone wanting to lead you to do, our home tone. Okay, that's think of T as you're at the end of your you're at the end of your errand. You're just tired, or exhausted. You want to get home. T leads you home. Ti do, do re mi fa sol la ti do. T will lead you home every single time. Okay. Now you'll notice also that there are certain hand signs here. Specific hand signs. These hand signs give a physical, kinesthetic way of learning where these, what these syllables are. They give you a physical representation of each solfege syllable, and we will be using these hand signs to help you remember and help you remember what the solfege pitches, solfege syllables are, and what their relation to each other is. Okay, so if you look at do. On the scale, do is a fist. That's our rock. That's our foundation. That's what we come back to every single time. Re raises up. It's raising do up. It's wanting to go to mi. Mi is a flat plane. So think of it as if you're on a rock. This is your foundation. You kind of raise going up the hill a little bit, and then you get to mi. Okay, there's a place where we can take a break for a second. Fa is leading up to so. As you notice, fa kind of has a almost open hand that's kind of giving its way to leading to the full open hand of so, which is still is taking your thumb, turning it up as if, okay, I'm going up to la is my next note. If you're going up, la, next note wants to lead to T. T obviously always wants to go back to do every single time because T is our leading tone. Okay, so those are the basic syllables and hand signs which we'll use. Now let's watch a quick video here. It's about it's a video here that talks about in more detail about solfege and why these hand signs. It talks about what kinesthetic learning is, a little bit more detail. So let's watch this video here.
Hello singers, Thank you for watching these YouTube videos. Many of you have requested in the comments of my videos that you would like to learn how to sight read music better. In this video, I will teach you a time-tested and internationally used method of sight singing called solfege. I will also use the Kerwin hand signs. Both of these things I will describe in detail in the next few minutes. Please stay tuned. Are you a singer who can look at a piece of music and sing it without any help from a piano or another singer? Or do you need to hear your part several times before you can sing it correctly? Having a good ear is a very good attribute, but having a good ear and being able to sight sing music without the help of another instrument or another singer is essential in becoming the best musician you can be. Music literacy allows the singer to see the notes on the page, understand what they are, how they relate to one another, and then perform them accurately without the help of an outside person or instrument. Notes can be identified in multiple ways in music. Each is important. Number one, notes can be identified through their note names. For example, A, B, C, F sharp, B flat, etc. Another way to identify notes is through labeling them by scale degrees. For example, the bottom note of a scale would be 1. The second note up would be 2. For example, if we were to sing C major on numbers, it would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A similar way, and the way that we will use in this video and demonstrate, is called solfege. Solfege is a series of short syllables.
Let me briefly pause that video for just one moment. He went through notes 1, 2, 3, or scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is also 1. We use that. Some people like to use those, use 8 as a to differentiate between a low do and a high do, or the low tonic and a high tonic. For the purposes of our class, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, because that way it'll get you in your mind to thinking that low tonic and high tonic are the same note. It's just on a different pitch. So when he says 8, he's talking about note 1 or high do. That's what he's talking about. So let's keep going.
Syllables used by music educators to help developing musicians understand how notes relate to one another and to the primary key that you are singing in. For example, do would be related to the 1 that I just described. Re would be the second note of the scale. Mi, the third note, etc. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Why is solfege useful? Isn't learning the note names good enough? Just like learning a language, it is important to know why words appear in a given order or in a sentence. You might ask, what is a noun and why is it here in my sentence? Or why is there an adjective before or after that noun, etc. Knowing that do is the home or the root of a specific key is like knowing where your home is and how to get back there after going for a walk. Another way to look at it, when writing a well-organized paper, you begin with an introductory paragraph where you lay out the main purpose of your paper. In the conclusion, you bring back the main points mentioned in the introduction so that the reader understands the purpose of your paper. In music, the key signature of the piece, or where do is, helps the singer and listener have a feel for where the composer is coming from and to where he or she wants to go with the composition. Just like the introduction in a written paper, the development of that paper, and the conclusion. Many teachers use numbers instead of solfege. This is an effective way to teach sight singing. There is an advantage, in my mind, to using solfege. Let me try to describe. A very important part of singing is vowel shape. Using solfege gives the singing musician an opportunity to focus on beautiful vowel shape and eventually bringing that into the text. Additionally, and even more important, when we learn chromatic solfege, which we will do in a future lesson, the vowels change depending on whether a note is sharp or flat, thus allowing a singer to develop the ability to sing music in a much broader tonal spectrum. The Kirwan hand signs were developed by John Kirwan, an early music educator. Let me give you an example here of what they look like. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You will ask, what is the purpose of using Kirwan hand signs while I sing or learn the music? John Kirwan developed these signs so that singers could have a kinesthetic way and connection to what they are singing. Just like an instrumentalist, a pianist moves their fingers up and down the keyboard, giving them a physical motion that helps them learn and hear the music. A trumpet player, for example, might push down the middle valve when he wants to play down a half step. A trombone knows exactly where to put his slide to play a certain note. These physical motions are more than just playing that note. It's a connection with the brain, a kinesthetic connection that develops muscle memory. Using these hand signs helps singers connect motion with the singing and the intervals that they're singing. Intervals being the space between two notes. When I see sheet music, how do I know where do is? Sarah Ann Glover was the founder of what we call movable do or tonic solfa. Movable do means that do is the bottom of any scale that you sing, not just C major, for example. Let me give you some examples. For example, when you're singing in the key of C major, no sharps or flats, do is C. When you're singing in the key of G major, one sharp, do is G. If you were singing in the key of F, which is one flat, F is do. Let's have some fun here. Let's sing a C major scale together. Here is do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. In this slide, you can see solfege on the bottom, the Kirwan hand sign above that, the actual notation for the note, and then the letter name. Let's do the key of G now. This time, use the hand signs that appear.
Oops, there we go. All right, so now for this one, I want you to actually use the hand signs. Use the hand sign that he shows on the screen while he's singing through this scale.
Do is the first note. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Okay, we'll save the rest of this video for another day when we actually start learning about how to read note names. So as you have learned thus far, solfege is a system of teaching what gives syllables to a pitch and also helps you to hear their relation to each other as well as giving the hand signs to give you that physical connection with the brain. Studies have shown that if you incorporate a physical movement with something that you're trying to learn, your brain is more apt to catching that and to remembering it, because it has not only you visually seeing something auditorily taking it in through your ears audibly, as well as seeing it through your eyes visually, it gives you a physical movement in order to help build a muscle memory of that pitch as well. Okay, so let's learn about scale degrees. If you'll click inside the second link for inside your document, this is an interactive lesson on the scale degrees. So if you go step by step through each one of these, you can also click here, these arrow buttons down here at the bottom. Let me take it full screen so you can see it. You can click through these arrows down here at the bottom, which you can see there's my cursor there, or you can click through each section here. Now, this lesson is going to teach you the first, as a review, the first and last note of any scale is the tonic note. So here's our tonic note, low tonic. Here's our second tonic note, the high tonic. Okay? Now, it gets into a little bit more detail as far as naming the other scale degrees inside. So we know these scale degrees as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1 again, because it's just a repeat of the tonic. But if we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this fifth note is also called the dominant. It's a dominant. The dominant scale degree. Now, that's a label for it. Don't try to confuse your brain, because your brain is going to think, oh, it's a dominant, so that means by definition it is primary. No, that's not generally the case. Just think of this right now as a label for the fifth scale degree as the dominant. The fifth scale degree, the fifth note, is the dominant of the scale. Okay? Now the fourth note is called the subdominant. Only reason why it's called that is because it's below the dominant. It's just a down below the dominant. That's the reason why it's called the subdominant. Okay? Now you'll notice that the subdominant note, note 4 right here, is the same distance below the tonic this way, 1, 2, 3, the same distance, same distance below the tonic as the dominant is above it. Okay, so from this note to the dominant, that's 5 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So from the first tonic to the dominant, that's your dominant. But it's also the same from the high tonic down to the subdominant. They're the same distance. So that's one reason. Another reason why they're in relation to each other as far as giving similar name to that. Okay, the prefix sub is Latin for under or beneath. So the fourth note of any scale is the subdominant note. Okay, the third note is called the mediant, since it is in the middle of the tonic and the dominant. It's right in between. Here's the low tonic, 1, 2, 3. Note 3, third note of any scale, is the mediant because it's in between the tonic and the dominant note. So it's between note scale degree number 1 and scale degree number 5. 1, 3, and 5. You'll also learn later on that the tonic, mediant, and dominant notes 1, 3, and 5 consist of a chord. Three notes tied together, played together. We'll learn about those in a future lesson as well. Now let's keep going. Likewise, the sixth note is called the submediant because it's in the middle of the upper tonic and the subdominant. So this one is very close in relation to this one. So if you think of these, if you split this in half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, split it in half right here in the middle, you've got essentially the same setup. This is the upper part of the scale, or excuse me, this is the lower part of the scale from lower tonic to the dominant. This is the upper part of the scale from upper tonic, high tonic down to the subdominant. They're just kind of like layered on top of each other like that. Okay, now we're going to skip that supertonic just because it's only reason why it's called that is because it's right above the tonic. Okay, now while the scale degree for first six notes are the same for both the major and minor scale, we'll get into that later, the seventh one is special. Number 7 right here. Okay, this T. This is T. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. T is the 7th note of the scale, and it is a half step. We'll learn about that later as well, coming up next week. Half step below the tonic, which means the 7th note of the scale is going to be a leading tone because it wants to lead you to the tonic. Okay, now listen to this scale. This is a C major scale because it starts on the note C. Here's our note C, pitch C. Here's the C major scale. Hear how it wants to lead into the tonic. Okay, so that's number 7. Note number 7 is the leading tone wanting to lead to the high tonic. Okay, now sometimes in music you will see sometimes that when they especially want to show you the scale degrees, they can show it with a little caret, which is just this little tiny little, it's got a roof over top of the house. Okay, it's a roof over top of the number. The number's in a house, That's its roof. Okay, so these are the scale degrees. Scale degree number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then there's 1 again. All that does is just show you numerically the scale degrees. That's all it does. Okay. All right, so assignments will be posted to the Google Classroom. You can check those out there once they are. And again, we will go through this in detail tomorrow, so we'll go over the same exact information tomorrow. So if you have any questions, take note of any questions you might have and bring them to the live recording, and we will talk about them in our next live meeting.